It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and 10. Oh boy. Welcome to episode 144 of the Border War. I'm BG. I'm here with TanMan. I'm assuming that applause is for the, as you would call them, Washington Football Club for their
Washington
first
FC.
For their first win of the season. Not a huge win. We'll talk about that in just a moment. You can follow us on Twitter at the Border War. You can follow TanMan at Tar Heel TanMan, and I am at BG_Border War. This is our NFL show for the week. We're going to talk Cowboys. We're going to talk Redskins. I don't see the Panthers on here, but I assume we're going to talk a little Panthers. We'll do a little Panthers action too. So I mean, there's some interesting topics concerning Washington and Dallas, which is really the way this whole show got started. We tend to play up the South Carolina, North Carolina thing on our logo and everything else, but unfortunately, those two schools don't face each other very often at all. But Washington and Dallas certainly do.
Washington and Dallas don't share a border, so it didn't
there
really
is that.
fit.
There is that. One wonders if that rivalry has been pushed just because of the mascots. Like if it's
the Cowboys and Indians.
It's just because it's Cowboys and Indians. If it just felt,
I bet that's how it started.
I mean, it really, it feels that way. Is there anything, though, that you can think of, and I've had this argument with many people, you know how rivalries are weird. It's like you hate the other team, but then you really love the rivalry. So, like, all of a sudden when people insult the rivalry, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm like, don't talk about the Cowboys like that. They're my rival.
Oh, no. When people go, oh, this is the best rivalry in sports, my ears perk up like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, I know what you're going to say about the best rivalry in sports.
That's what I'm saying. But I get what you're saying.
But my point being, can you think of anything that screams classic NFL football more than seeing those two helmets against each other? That to me, that's the NFL, man. Cowboys versus Redskins.
Too bad it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Not anymore. Maybe one day Daniel Snyder will die.
And then,
I said it.
And then Frank Snyder, his long son, will take over. And
Frank Snyder shows up. Hi, I'm the new owner of the Washington Redskins. How old are you, Frank? I'm 9.
I think we should fire the coach. That's the first thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get started. So, do you want to start with our sort of general NFL talk, or do you want to start in the box?
Nah, we'll start with the talk. Look, we're 6 weeks. So basically, everybody's
a third of the way.
Everybody's played 5 or 6 games. We're a third of the way through the season. I don't know about all your picks because I don't remember them all, but I know most of my picks. Most don't work too bad, but I've laid some stinkers out there to start the year. Give me a couple things that really caught you by surprise. You weren't expecting. Good or bad, BG?
Well, I think the way we talked about it ahead of time was sort of surprising teams, which I took to mean positive and disappointing teams.
Yeah.
So the teams that have surprised me positively, I've got 4. The Ravens. Now, last year, I was really high on the Ravens. I thought they had one of the better rosters in the NFL. Obviously, they've got an experiment at quarterback. Now, there are plays where Lamar Jackson makes everybody in the league look like they don't even belong on the field, and then there are plays when he tries to throw the football. But that being said, the Ravens sitting at 4-2 right now. I will say this, though. They use him very well. They don't have him doing too many things that he's not capable of doing. And we may very well find, as the years go by, that the NFL starts to look more Lamar Jackson friendly as time goes by. This one's going to seem... Well, let's just throw 2 out there that are really obvious, the 49ers and the Seahawks. Now, I had the 49ers finishing second in this division. I remember talking about that I thought they were going to have a much better year than a lot of people thought. I did not think they would be sitting at 5-0. Their defense is a problem. They are a flat problem for people. And who are they playing this week? I can't even remember.
I don't know.
Oh, that's right, the Redskins. And then the Seahawks are much better than I thought. Russell Wilson might be having the best year of his career. I think he's a legitimate MVP candidate right now. And Jadeveon Clowney looks exactly like what we always thought Clowney should look like, with his hand in the ground and causing absolute havoc in the backfield. And then I'm just going to throw this one out there. A team that has positively surprised me this year, even though they're 2-4, the New York Giants. I thought the New York Giants at least looked like for a half they belonged on the field with the New England Patriots the other night. They didn't just get wiped off the mat, even though the final score ended up being a little bit one-sided. But
the best thing they did was they made the change.
Right? They made the change. They ripped the bandage off right now. And we know that there are plenty of quarterbacks that have looked great their rookie year and never looked great again. And we know there are quarterbacks that look bad their rookie year that have looked great after that. But early returns on Daniel Jones – looks like he is better than everyone thought he was. I still don't know that he's going to end up turning into being worth, that high of a draft pick, but we'll see. But yeah, so the Giants, I mean, they don't look like the dumpster fire that the offseason had everybody convinced they were.
I kind of felt like they were going to make this move to quarterback to Daniel Jones at some point. I mean, it's not a hot take. I think everybody kind of felt like that, but they went to it a little earlier than I think a lot of people were expecting.
No, they definitely did,
which is a good call. I mean, you're going nowhere fast with Eli Manning. You got this kid out there. Hint.
Whoa. So what you're saying?
Put the kid in there and let him play.
So what you're saying is if a team's having a really bad season, they should go ahead and start their first round draft pick quarterback?
Yeah, I know. It's a crazy, mind-blowing experiment. But, if you got a kid, maybe you ought to figure out whether he can play. Anyway, I've got a couple teams. I had the 49ers, too. Look, I don't think I don't know of anybody that had the 49ers at this point still being undefeated.
No.
They are – look, they look like they're the real deal. And I hate to say it because I hate the 49ers. But two teams that have also really pleasantly surprised me. One, I've got the New Orleans Saints. The Saints sit at 5-1 right now, and they haven't had Drew Brees for, 3 weeks now? 4 weeks now, whatever it is. He's going to be out for another couple weeks. You want to talk about a defense that's doing the work? Right now it's the Saints. That defense in New Orleans is carrying the load on a team that's generally been led by their offense. So they're holding their own. Teddy Bridgewater's holding things down. When Drew Brees gets back, I think New Orleans is going to be a problem in the NFC. And the other team, look, I've got the Oakland Raiders. Now the Raiders are just at 3-2. But when you look at that division, the Broncos aren't very good. The Chargers, who are on my bad list, they're not very good right now. And you got Kansas City with Pat Mahomes, who, maybe Kansas City should think about giving Pat Mahomes their bye week doesn't come to like week 12. Maybe they ought to think about letting that guy take a week off. Because
he did look human for the first time in a while this last Sunday.
That ankle injury is not doing him any favors. And so you got the Oakland Raiders there at 3-2 with all the Antonio Brown stuff during the summer. Devontae Burfict stuff just a few weeks ago, like all this extra stuff in Oakland, hanging around they're hanging around that playoff picture right now, a third of the way through. So tip your cap to John Gruden. He's certainly been the butt of more than a few jokes. On the bad side, teams that have really disappointed me, I'm going to stay away from the obvious one. The obvious one is the Cleveland Browns. You got your quarterback.
That's if you let your expectations get ahead of the curve, though.
Well, we both had them in the playoffs. Now, we didn't have them winning the division or we didn't have them in the Super Bowl, but we both had them in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield's
still not impossible, though, because that is a weak division right now.
But Mayfield's going to have to play a whole lot better for that to even
And the thing that concerns me about Baker, too, is it would be one thing if he was taken off too early, right? And doing the I'm a short, fast quarterback routine that we've seen 100 times. But he's not.
No,
he's playing the right way. He's using his mobility to stay in the pocket, look down the field. He just doesn't look like he can make the throws. And if that's the case, you're in bad shape.
This has gone way different in Cleveland. So, look, my bad list is going to focus. I'm going to say Eagles and Cowboys, both as one. I think both of these teams, they're at 3-3 right now. They both had Super Bowl aspirations to start the year, and only one of them is going to be in the playoffs. You can mark that down. And the other team, the LA Rams, Super Bowl runners-up last year, won the NFC last year.
Even the games they've won, they haven't looked good.
They're 3-3, 1-2 at home. And when you look at their division, they're behind San Francisco and behind Seattle, and I don't think those two teams are going anywhere. So the Rams have better kind of pick it up, otherwise they're going to be left behind.
Well, let's talk about the whole city of Los Angeles. What about the Chargers?
Yeah.
I mean, the Chargers were the most undervalued team in the NFL last year. I rode them and rode them and rode them, and Phillip Rivers won you an awful lot of fantasy games last season. But this Chargers team has not played well, and it's, but there's no major missing pieces here.
Isn't this what they always do, though? Don't they always start off like 3-7, and you look up, and at the end of the year,
and I was going to
they're
say
8-8, and go, oh, if they had just gotten off to a better start. This is the same thing year after year.
You are right, and we'd have to remember that the NFL season is so long, 16 regular season games, that there are those teams out there, and there are probably teams. There are teams like the 49ers that start off 5-0 and end up 9-7. So we'll see where that goes. I think you also have to throw the Falcons in there as being a major disappointment. Both of us thought they were going to be really good. Then I think about the Steelers, and both of us thought they were going to be really good. But now I look back and I'm like, why did we think they were going to be really good? They don't have anybody to throw the ball to. And of course, we didn't know Roethlisberger was going to go down.
I'm not going to penalize Pittsburgh because they're on their third-string quarterback now. So I'm not going to penalize them too badly for that. But no excuse for Atlanta. There are too many offensive weapons. Too much. They spent so much time building an offense that it looks like now you've got a defensive head coach and your defense is just horrendous. There's no excuse.
Dan Quinn probably getting ready to fight Jason Garrett for the job of the nation's capital. That's probably the next step of all this.
Well, look, one thing seems for certain.
But seriously, I think Quinn's done.
Yeah, no,
I think he's done.
One thing seems for certain is that we're headed toward the end of the Jason Garrett era. Finally.
I can't understand.
Finally. Why? It is on the way out. We just have to be mediocre enough for the next 10 games.
I mean, honestly, did Jerry Jones about 3 hours, did he not just basically come out and say, I'm going to fire this guy? He's like, he's a great coach. He's a first-class coach. I think he'll do great on the open market. Like, what is that?
That is what we have been screaming about for years now. Get this guy out of here, and finally there is a light at the end of the tunnel, BG.
I definitely think that it feels like at times that Dallas wins games in spite of Jason Garrett.
Yes, I've said that for years, man.
And there was a made famous GIF the day Jay Gruden was fired of a player in training camp. I can't call it the actual name. Twerking a part of Jay Gruden's upper chestal anatomy, and Gruden swats at him like he's getting on his nerves. And it was just the idea that a player will walk up to the head coach.
But you can do that.
And then you can do that with impunity and no punishment. Just like that, this week, Jason Garrett trying to congratulate some Cowboys defensive players as they run off the field after a 3-and-out. Holds his hands out. Every single one of them runs by him like he's not even there. And again, people laugh at that, but it's not funny. It lets you know that he has not got that locker room.
They're done. Listen,
and you can't have a head coach that's lost the locker room.
If you really want to know what's going on inside, what it's like inside the Cowboys locker room, you really want to know the inside stuff, go follow Des Bryant on Twitter. Somebody had asked him what he thought about it, and he just he's not there. There's no reason.
Well,
he doesn't
Cowboys
hold back.
And the Redskins both not short of any former players that want to talk about
it. And Des Bryant will lay the blame at Jason Garrett's feet. I know it sounded like Tony Romo kind of took a little bit of a veiled shot at him Sunday calling the game. He said, this offense, while they're struggling through 3 quarters. Romo made the comment, look, this looks like it's got Jason Garrett's fingerprints all over it right now.
And a lot of people have made the accusation that after you were sitting at 3-0, and we're talking about Kellen Moore running this offense great, and everything looks great, and all of a sudden it changes. Like someone put their hands on it that didn't need to put their hands on it.
The take that, they beat up on the worst teams in the league. Now they're playing teams that can punch
some
them
of
back.
that is true.
Some of that's true. The Jets are one of the punchless teams in the league, man. Are we kidding? And through 3 quarters, this thing's at 21-9 or whatever it was. Look, there is plenty of blame to go around in Dallas right now for whatever is happening. And week after week after week now, I think this is 3 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row, whatever it is, that this offense has gotten off to. So even the Miami game that they won, they were sluggish walking through the first half. There's plenty of blame to go around for why that is. And for whatever reason, to me, when you take the reins off of Dak Prescott at the end of ball games, and he'll get and he gets you back into them. The Green Bay game, we've seen in the playoff game a couple years ago with Green Bay that they should have won. So against Sunday,
You talking about the one where Dez Bryant dropped the football?
No. This is the one where Aaron Rodgers threw the ball to the
sideline
that no one else in the world could catch.
Right,
but this one window, and he found it. Anyway, don't even get me started. But Dak Prescott at the end of these games, it's like he takes the reins off and he's just out there playing and directing the offense, and everything looks great. But then when you want to start dipping your hand in the Kool-Aid, then everything looks like crap, and that's exactly what this is. And look, when part of this Kellen Moore's offense to start the year looked fantastic, but let's be honest, man, he's like 15 years old, and we've talked about.
And he obviously does not command the clout to tell his head coach, "Hey man, back off."
Right. And is he going to be a good offensive coordinator in the league? Yeah, I think he eventually will. But having a guy that young in that first-time job, because we've talked, he wouldn't be an offensive coordinator anywhere else in the league.
We don't know how all this happens. We talk about this all the time. Maybe this is a scenario where Kellen Moore came to Jason Garrett and said, "Hey man, what do you think about this?"
Maybe.
And we don't know how it happens, but the point is somebody has dumped some pee into this Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
it does not look like it looked after week 3. And the whole second half of last year.
Yes.
It does not look the same.
Now, I know they're banged up. Amari Cooper left the game early with a quad injury. They're missing 2 offensive linemen, yada, yada. Look, man, there's no excuse for what we saw up there Sunday.
And yes,
it's just not.
The Jets get Sam Darnold back, but again,
there's no excuse.
You can't tell me Sam Darnold was in 100% playing shape for that game anyway, man. He had been, I don't know if you've read about mono. It's a pretty debilitating. Yes, and so he came back at probably 75%, maybe. You cannot go up there and lay an egg like that.
Yeah, I think the young offensive coordinator with the staff that's already on the rocks, with the team that Jerry Jones has said, with his money and with his checks, I believe we can win we can win a Super Bowl with his words and his money. That's not a great mix.
And this was a get back in track game, too. Yes. I mean, you had everything in the world to go up there and play for. It absolutely shocked me.
I think this was, when we look back at this season, if we're out of the playoffs, knock on wood, heaven forbid, or we're on the road going back to New Orleans or going back to Green Bay or San Francisco, wherever, we're on the road come playoff time, you're going to look back at this stretch and go, this is why. This 3-4 week stretch right here, this is why we're on the road. This is why we're not at home. And so we're at the point now where I don't even think that making the playoffs is going to save Jason Garrett's job, because even if we still make the playoffs, we're going to look back at this and go, you're the reason we're going to Los Angeles or Green Bay and not playing in Dallas. And I think he's out of here,
and
man.
I mean, I'll be honest with
goodness.
you. I'll be honest with you. I almost think that's already happened. Like, you've already lost that home playoff game advantage. That's over. Like, you could very easily still win the division and make the playoffs, but
come divisional round, if you win one, you're going on the road.
Point being, New Orleans loses their Hall of Fame quarterback, put Terry Bridgewater. He's 4-0.
Yep. Why? Because they've got a great coach.
They have a great coach, no question. And now we do too.
Well, at least you don't have a terrible coach, which is what you had before, BG. The Redskins, the Washington Football Club, the battle for the 2020 #1 pick.
I know you
win
saw
the battle, but lost the war. Man.
I know you saw Fred Smoot's tweet, man. It was brilliant. He goes, you remember Fred Smoot?
I do remember.
Cornerback for the Redskins back in the early 2000s. It's still heavily involved in yeah. I think he played at Ole Miss, I think.
Mississippi State.
Was it Mississippi State? Okay. Still heavily involved in sort of the sports talk scene up in D.C. He said Miami didn't go for 2 at the end of that game. They went for Tua.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they did. The Dolphins, we laughed about it, man. I was like, they're going to tie. and the Dolphins were like, hold my beer. We're not tying.
Time out. What I think would have been hilarious is if like they had run a play and had gotten to the outside or something and was going to score. And the guy was like,
and laid down.
And just laid down, man. Y'all can have it.
What an ugly, ugly football game for two ugly programs. My buddy Matt, it was Matt's birthday too. He's fascinated that you and he share a birthday.
Well, you know who also share a birthday with?
What's that?
Jerry Jones.
Nobody cares about that.
Yes, we do.
Nobody cares.
Happy belated birthday,
Jerry Jones doesn't even have birthdays anymore. He's an undead.
Why don't you give me a birthday present? Go hire Lincoln Riley today a futures contract.
Anyway, we were talking about it. You know, the Dolphins, at least at one point, fairly recently, were the winningest program in the NFL.
I want to see some numbers on that one. No way.
That was absolutely the truth 3 or 4 years ago when I looked it up.
No way.
You've got to remember, though, man, some of these teams have been in the league much, much, much longer than some other teams. And then, you know, I think six Super Bowl wins between these two clubs, and for them to be playing a game like that with a airplane flying over the stadium saying "Fire Bruce Allen," I mean, it just, I don't know how we've gotten here. I mean, I've watched it step by step, but not a huge win for the Redskins. Now, I'll say this: I watched the interviews with these guys after the game, and it was absolutely a big win for them. This is not a team that has quit. And I think, whatever you think about Bill Callahan, I think he's exactly the right coach for the situation they're in right now. And I do think that he's playing to their strengths, man. Let's run the football. Let's play defense. But the fact that they beat Miami by 1 point, not a strong indication that, I mean, obviously we know this season's not going to get turned around, but this isn't going to be a win, you know, 8 out of your last 10 game situation either. This team might have 2 more wins in it.
No, but there's something. Number one, nobody wants to be the 0-16 team. Nobody wants to be that team.
Oh, no, you're right.
And there is a big difference to me from the difference in winning 2 games and winning 4 games.
We've talked about this.
Something about being 4-12 as opposed to 2-14 is a world of difference to me.
We've talked about this over and over on the show, and I'm firmly convinced about it, that talent outside of about 25 guys in the NFL is even across the board. And so what do you have other than talent? You have coaching and you have culture. And I think that one thing I always look at when I make my season predictions is I go back and I look at teams' records in the last 5 or 6 weeks of the previous season. So if you have a team, I don't know, just pick some random team like the Ravens that played really poorly up until about 5 weeks left to go in the season, and they win 4 out of their last 6 games. Then to me what that means is that you've got guys in that locker room that have started to turn a corner. And a lot of times that stuff can translate into the next season. So I think you have a lot of talent in Washington. I don't think you have a lot of offensive playmakers.
Wait, back up. You have a what? You have a lot?
I think defensively this team has a lot of talent.
I think you have some.
Well, the last 3 drafts, almost everybody that they've picked has panned out. But there is the locker room situation up there going into this week might have been as bad as a situation could get. I don't know what you're playing for here. I think that there's still a problem because I think the players are 100% aware of the talk about their owner and about their president, about their GM, and about where this thing is moving off to in the future. And honestly, I don't think any of them really want to be there.
You talk about how you finish the season, kind of dictating how you feel about yourself in the off season, the attitude around the building. The one I think that's a dead on take. If there's a lot of continuity and you bring it back to, it's going to be a whole new deal next year. And so I don't know that carrying anything. I don't know that you want to carry anything over from this year into next year. The to take a look at the schedule of the rest of the guys. Have you really looked at your schedule?
And you don't have it's rough. And you don't have a bye week coming up for 3 more weeks.
Yeah, it's not good, man. You got the Niners this week. You've got, you're going to Minnesota, to Buffalo. In the last 4 or 5 games, you're going to Carolina, to Green Bay, to Dallas.
They really are going to lose every one of those.
It really might be a 2-win
Absolutely.
team.
Absolutely.
But like I said, at least better days. That better days are on the horizon. At least in the coaching
here
sense.
In the middle of
You're
October,
going to get a new coach. Now, whether he's better or worse, I don't know.
Here in the middle of October, tons of time left. Don't say Jason Garrett. Just give me your best guess. Who's the head coach in Washington next year?
I wouldn't even begin. I think it's going to be somebody that. Somebody we're not like. I don't think it's going to be Mike Tomlin.
I think it's going to be Ken
some
Wisenhunt type guy.
It's going to be somebody. I think you're going down the Jay Gruden route again. I think it's going to be somebody's coordinator somewhere because look, this job for years and years, like the Oakland Raiders, like the only person who would take the Oakland Raiders job is the guy who was dying to get a head coaching job. And I think that's what Washington has
now,
become.
all the rumors, and they are just that, and I'm not talking about Mike Tomlin as a serious candidate, but here's the only reason I'm bringing it up. Because the rumor is that Dan Snyder has basically made it known that to Mike Tomlin. And the only reason, again, I'm bringing it up is because I wonder if he would make this offer to other coaches. If you come here, you will have complete control over the draft. Everything. It'll be all you. This will be your team. You pick every player, period. There's no Bruce Allen. He manages the business. I'm not firing him, but he will not be making draft picks anymore. Now, that hasn't been an official statement. Dan Snyder doesn't talk to anyone. But that's the stuff that has leaked out of the locker room. So, are there other coaches out there on the level of Tomlin or college coaches on that level who can't say no to more money, who can't say no to, a foot in the door of the league, although I don't think the NFL is as prestigious as it used to be compared to college because of where college money has gone. But are there guys who are going to be intrigued by the idea of this is 100% what I'm going to want? Are there guys that puts them in the conversation for that normally they wouldn't be able to have? Or do guys think, I don't trust that?
That's it. It depends on whether or not you actually believe that. And if you tell me...
Because nobody's ever going to convince me that this is really Bruce Allen. Bruce Allen is nothing but Dan Snyder's mouth. Right?
If you say he's not... Now, if you had gone out and fired Bruce Allen along with Jay Gruden, then okay. Then we can talk. But if he's still going to be around... Like the first time I draft a guy and he doesn't pan out, is he going to come walking by? Are you going to let him come walking back in the door and jump in and all of a sudden now we've got this whole thing going on? Again, I think the Washington job is toxic. I think the whole culture is toxic. I think the whole organization, it is a train wreck. And I think the only person that's going to take that job is someone who has already been fired, some retread, i.e. Ken Wisenhunt, like you just mentioned.
Right.
Or it's going to be somebody who's just dying to be a head coach and will take any head coaching job that comes up. I don't think you're getting anybody to leave a good job to come there. I don't think anybody who's gotten fired from a good job is going to.
But you're not going to get Josh McDaniels or his ilk because he knows he's going to get a good offer at some point.
Yeah, you're not going to get anybody who just got fired from a good job. Maybe Ron Rivera because he knows he can sit out a year and wait it out, and maybe a better job comes along.
Right.
I think it's going to be just another dude, man. I'm sorry.
I think you're probably right, and I think it's important to remember too that for his 2 years there, thinking back on it. Steve Spurrier was given free rein. He started Danny Werfel, for God's sakes. I mean, he did what he wanted to do. It just turned out Spurrier wasn't the guy to make that gamble on because he was not an NFL coach.
No, he didn't want to do all the extra stuff.
He didn't want to do any of the extra stuff. And maybe that explains some of Snyder's reluctance. And now Joe Gibbs, when he came back, he had full reign because how can he not? How do you bring Joe Gibbs back and tell him what to do with the Washington Redskins? And he had the only thing close to success that they've had under Snyder's ownership. But I think it all started with Marty Schottenheimer, who won 7 of the last 8 games that season to finish at 8-8. It was his first year as head coach, and he was fired because Snyder didn't hire him. And that right there sent a warning shot to the rest of the league of this dude is off the rails.
That was Dan going, listen, this is my new shiny toy. Yeah, if we can win 7 of 8, if we can close it out strong like that, then I think we've got talent to make a run, and he wants to be just like Jerry Jones, man. They're the same person. They want to be able to take credit for stuff. The only difference is Jerry Jones has kind of figured out where to fall back and pull back and delegate a little bit. And I feel like Daniel Snyder still has his circle.
Well, and right now, Jerry's a little luckier because neither one of them actually wanted Dak Prescott. One of them just ended up getting him anyway.
You're wrong.
4th round, homie. 4th round.
Had Dak Prescott pegged.
Yeah, you're right.
Pegged.
You're right. What do I know?
Be the future of the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
Same thing with Tony Romo.
Next topic.
Future.
Yep. They spotted him in 8th grade.
They probably
spotted him in 8th grade, right outside Cleveland.
Don't be angry because you're still waiting patiently for the Dwayne Haskins era to begin.
That is a curious issue, though, and here's my take on that. Because everybody in the world would have thought as soon as the coach is hired, he's starting. I honestly think that you really want my take. I think they know he's no good.
I was going to say I don't think he'll be there next year. I think
that Bill Callahan gave him first team reps and was like, "Oh my God, we can't put him on the field." That's exactly what I think.
Dwayne Haskins will be an XFL quarterback in 2 years.
How many games did he even play in college? 8 or 9?
I think he started 1 season.
Yeah, no, he didn't start the whole season.
I think he got the whole. Unless he got hurt. He got the whole season. He was there.
I just think that that was another Danny Boy special because from everything I've heard, not one person in that organization wanted to draft him. Nobody, except for Dan Snyder.
That's a mess. We got a few minutes before we get into our picks, so we'll talk a little bit of Panthers football. BG, did you hear Ron Rivera's take?
I can't listen to Ron Rivera talk.
No,
he's like listening to watching paint dry.
Before I thought it was interesting because you've got you've got Cam Newton. We don't need to list the accolades. We know everything that he's done and everything he's accomplished with the Panthers franchise. He's basically been the Panthers franchise for the better part of a decade almost now. And
he's been everything but the best quarterback in franchise history.
Yeah.
That would be Jake Delhomme.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Look, I'm a Jake Delhomme man, but
he had more success.
I think he had I think Cam's had more success, but I think if you want to shorten the window, I think if you take a smaller window, I think you go Jake. But anyway, that's a different discussion. But no, someone asked him, every time anyone's asked about Cam Newton and his health and what they're going to do at that quarterback position, he gets really defensive. I don't want to talk about this. I don't know anything. That kind of stuff. Now it was, look, right now our quarterback is Kyle. They're going. They got a bye week. Just came back from London, but it wasn't a look. When Cam comes back, Cam's our guy. It was Kyle's our guy, and we'll evaluate. It sounded like he was not trying to distance himself away from Cam Newton, but it's like he was leaving the door open to maybe, if this thing keeps going, maybe Cam is not going to be the starter just as soon as he gets healthy.
They are not winning games in spite of Kyle Allen. They are winning games in part because of Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen has played well. He hasn't thrown a pick yet. Will it last? I don't know. But it's not like that. You can't do the thing where you're like, well, they don't have film on him. No, man, he's running pretty standard pro-style offense here. He's going to throw it to Christian McCaffrey. That's what he's going to do. I don't see how you can even be talking about going back to Cam at this point. Because Cam isn't going to be 100% healthy if he was actually hurt. I know he was, but I'm just saying like his shoulders more what I'm talking about.
Cam Newton hasn't been 100% healthy in about 900 days, man. It's been a long, long time. And if you're the Panthers and you look, I know we've talked about this some, but if you look, they're 4-0 right now with Kyle Allen, and they've beaten some pretty good teams in Houston and Jacksonville, depending on what day it is, then they could be great one week and terrible another. But I think generally they're a pretty decent football team. Look, if Kyle Allen doesn't turn the ball over, listen, you go, the old adage, you can't lose your job to injury. Well, tell that to Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
He lost his job to injury twice. Tell that to Tony Romo. How did he lose his job? He lost his job to injury. Sometimes these guys, they get a chance, and
Rivera
they run with it. They don't look back.
To go back to losing football games with Cam Newton, they're going to fire him. I think it's really important to remember, too, this is not the owner that hired him.
Right.
He needs to win, and they are. If he goes back to Cam Newton, he deserves to be fired. I mean, because why would you roll the dice on that? And again, if you are out there yelling at us right now saying, how can you not go back to Cam? I don't know, man. Go look at his stats for the last 2 seasons. This guy has not been on par. Throw that 2015 season out. Why did we throw it out? Because it's the only season he's ever had like that.
Stop even bringing that up, man.
I can give you 7 other seasons.
That is not Cam Newton.
No. And the running issue is now gone too. Can you use him in a goal line situation? Sure. But here's my thing. I don't know if Cam's that guy, man. He's always had that little bit of, I ain't really a team player. I'm going to go sit on the sideline with a towel over my head mentality. I don't know. I don't think he handles it well if he's not the man when he comes back. Somehow I suspect he won't be as interested in the children in the stands anymore.
I hear Rivera's comments, and I can only listen to how he says things before and how he says things here recently, and to me it sounded like he was coming to the realization, like, they came in together. So I'm sure he would, in a perfect world, he would like to go back to Cam Newton and run everything and make the playoffs and all that good stuff. But I think he's realizing, like, Cam Newton doesn't give us our best opportunity to win football games right now, and it's starting to set in on him.
And it's not close. And the thing is, I mean, I guess my biggest question is, since Kyle Allen appeared 4 or 5 years ago as a child in that Play 60 commercial and told Cam he was going to take his job and become his mom's favorite player, is he indeed Cam's mom's favorite player now?
Probably. Yeah. How could you not be?
I thought that was the most brilliant tie-in to anything I'd ever seen. You remember, I'm just warming my arm up, and I mean, the people are like, this is Kyle Allen. We just didn't know, and it's every line of that is true. It even kind of looks like him. The kid even kind of looks like Kyle Allen, who again looks like a 16-year-old.
Everybody does all these things, making these little memes and things. Somebody please put Kyle Allen's face on that little kid's body and make the little mouth move like with the little jib jab, whatever it is. I'm coming to take your job. What?
Yeah. I'm going to be your mom's favorite player. Oh, wait. What strikes me about that commercial, too, is how normal Cam looked 4 years ago, before he started wearing bonnets and sweater vests and I don't know.
Well, look, Cam taking some shots? Is Cam taking some shots?
Absolutely.
All right. Who else is taking shots, acting a little crazy right now? Antonio Brown.
I see what you mean.
Ding, 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 ding. Man, that head.
Vontez Burfict.
Not quite right.
Do you think that there's a chance Cam is playing somewhere else?
Yes.
Where do you think he goes?
Maybe Washington.
Maybe
Washington.
No, I don't think that's impossible.
Look, I mean, we've done this before. We go down and look at the quarterbacks around, and everybody makes a big deal about, everybody's looking for a quarterback. Well, if you break it down, go team by team.
There's a lot of teams that are actually not looking like they were.
I'd say 75% of the league, if not more, not looking for a quarterback.
We've had a pretty big infusion in the past few years of some pretty talented quarterbacks. Yeah. Cam's not going to go somewhere where a guy like Drew Brees is about to leave. He's going to go somewhere where they need one yesterday.
And they've either got a guy or they drafted a guy here in the last 3 or 4 years, and they're not in the market for it. The picks this week's games, man. First game on the list, Minnesota at Detroit. Kirk Cousins. Someone has finally woken up this Minnesota offense. I love it. The Lions, they're giving up a point in this one at home. A tough loss on Monday night against Green Bay. On a shorter week, give me Minnesota to win this one outright. So I'll take the point that you're going to give me because I think Minnesota's starting to kind of turn a corner a little bit.
I think the Lions win this game.
I think you're just picking against Kirk Cousins.
In part I am because I've never seen him have 2 good games in a row, and he doesn't play good in games that matter. And every time he has a game like that, he always comes back and throws 2 picks the next week. I don't know that means they may be good enough to beat the Lions anyway. It's about that time of the season where the Lions usually fall apart.
Right.
They're telling you the game's a pick 'em. I mean, really. Yeah. But I'm going to go with the Lions.
The biggest spread on the picks list for the week.
Every week.
Niners, basically, yeah.
Not basically. Every week.
The Niners at the Washington Football Club. The Redskins are plus 10 in this one, BG. Can they keep it within 10? They're coming cross country, man. It's like a 1 o'clock kickoff. Early kickoff. They're on Niner time, man. A big win last week against the Dolphins. Redskins, turn the corner. Do they do it?
The problem, no, I don't think they do. But the problem, I think, is that the Redskins offense won't be able to do anything. I think the defense will play well, but Garoppolo doesn't scare me. The Redskins
13-2 as a starter.
I know that, but
now that's over like 9 years because he gets hurt every year.
And it's also throwing for 180 yards a game. He's always had great defenses, but. I think the Redskins can get after him. They can cause him problems, but I think that the Redskins' defense plays on a short field the whole game. So, no. I mean, I think 10 points is probably about right. Maybe 13, but I'll take the Niners and the points.
Now, give me San Francisco. Washington's a mess. Look, Miami, it might be the worst football team that we have seen in the NFL in my lifetime.
But the difference is this hasn't been going on in Miami for 20 years.
Right, but what I'm saying is they're the worst team that I've seen in my lifetime, and the final score was like 17-16 last week.
I got you.
This is not whatever's going on in Washington is not good. We're going to beat the dead horse every week. I'm going to give the Redskins however many points they want.
But until something happens... But we're not going to keep talking about I'm not going to do it. You can't make me.
It's about time to give them the Das Boot from Das Box. The Saints at the Bears. The Bears -3 at this one. Look, BG, it's time to start giving Teddy Bridgewater his due a little bit. He has more than held his own and held things down with the absence of Drew Brees right now. I know this Bears defense is tough. They're the real deal. But so is the Saints defense, man. Give me New Orleans, and I'll take the points in this one.
I actually had the Bears on my most disappointing list, too, because, I haven't been prepared for how bad their offense has looked. I think the Saints are going to stumble at some point. It's at Chicago. I just don't know. I mean, Bridgewater's played well. I'm gonna go with the Bears in this one.
Next on the list, Baltimore at Seattle. The Seahawks are -3.5. Listen, this one is at home. We didn't see the Seahawks coming. This guy did, man. The Seahawks are the real deal. They're gonna beat Baltimore. They're gonna welcome Lamar Jackson to the NFL and give him a real defense. Seahawks giving up 3.5. You can have them. Give me the Hawks.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Ravens' offense is going to really struggle with this.
And finally, I think this is the Sunday night game. Philadelphia at Dallas. The Cowboys somehow are giving up points in this one. This one, again, it blows my mind. How in the world the Cowboys should be giving points to anybody but the Redskins right now. No. Give me Philadelphia and the points. If the Cowboys win, maybe it's a tight one, but I'll take the Eagles and the points. That one just makes no sense to me.
I think the Eagles have looked worse than y'all. And I think you're being overly critical of your team because of your bias that you want them to be really good, and you're not really looking at the Eagles. The Eagles have played pretty poorly. I think the Cowboys bounce back. Win this game. So I'm going to take Dallas in this one.
I'll give you that one and let you cut into the lead by game if that's the case. It is the case that
you forgot about the other 8 that I'm going to lose this week. So I won't be cutting into anything. That one game won't earn me anything if I'm wrong on everything else I said. Because I took some risks this week in the college game too.
Oh man, 144. The producer's wrapping this up. 144 is over with. Email the show, play along with the picks list, CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. Redskins, out of the box. What are we going to do?
I've determined that my backup team has to be the Colts. I went through the whole league and looked. They're the only team that even interests